I always thought I was adopted. The signs were there. No baby pictures before age 3, a mom who flinched when I asked questions, a dad who avoided them altogether. Birthdays were quiet. No stories about the day I was born, no tales of labor or first words. Just cake, forced smiles, and presents that felt more like bribes. When I was 10, I asked my mom directly, "Am I adopted?" She paused for a full 5 seconds before laughing and saying, "Of course not, sweetie. You're mine. Every piece of you." But something about the way she said it didn't sit right. Every piece of me? It sounded like she was trying to convince herself. Over the years, I started collecting questions like souvenirs. Why didn't I look like either of them? Why did they move towns every couple of years? Why did mom change her hair color so often? Always cutting it the second someone commented that we looked nothing alike. By 15, I had a plan. I waited until they left for dinner one night and dug through the metal filing cabinet in the garage, the one with our tax papers and insurance forms. I found what I was looking for buried behind expired passports and a moldy birth certificate for a dog we never owned. My birth certificate. Except it wasn't the one I remembered seeing in kindergarten for enrollment. This one looked different, newer, and the names didn't match. Under mother, it didn't list my mom's name. And under father, it was blank. No name, no initials, just empty space like a wound. My hands started shaking. I read it again and again, trying to make sense of it. I wasn't adopted, I was something else entirely. I took a picture with my phone and put it all back exactly as I'd found it. I couldn't ask mom, not yet. I needed answers first. I started digging into public records, using the names on the certificate. I learned the woman listed as my birth mother had died the same year I turned 3. Car accident, no other survivors. I couldn't find anything about my father. I started to wonder if he'd died too, or if he was just a blank space someone didn't want me to fill in. Then I checked newspaper archives for the town where I'd supposedly been born. There it was, an article dated 3 days after my 3rd birthday. Toddler survives crash that kills mother. No names listed, just sources say the child is now in the care of a relative. And right below the article was a blurry photo. My face, unmistakably mine, being carried away by a woman with dark red hair. Mom. My mom. But her name wasn't in the article, and her hair was longer than I'd ever seen it. I zoomed in, and the expression on her face was pure panic. I printed it out and carried it in my backpack for days, touching it like a talisman. I didn't know what to think. Had she saved me? Kidnapped me? Both? I kept digging. I requested death records, called county offices, emailed distant relatives I found online. No one responded. I even messaged someone with the same last name as the birth mother listed on my certificate. They never wrote back. Then one night, mom left her laptop open. She always kept it locked, but that night she must have been tired. I couldn't help myself. I clicked into her folders and found one marked, "Do not open." Inside were scans of legal documents, adoption papers, but not real ones. Forged, created using templates, names cut and pasted, digital signatures. One file was titled Backup Story DocX. My blood turned to ice. I opened it. It was a script, word for word answers to questions I might ask. You were a miracle baby. Your dad's genes are strong. I went through early menopause, that's why there are no photos of me pregnant. Each lie was practiced, prepared, packaged. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. When I came back, the laptop was gone. Mom stood in the hallway, arms crossed, face unreadable. "We need to talk," she said. I braced for screaming accusations, but she just sat me down on the couch like we were about to watch TV. "You were never supposed to know," she said. But I guess I should have seen this coming. I asked her who I was. She said I was born to her sister Miranda. The name matched the birth certificate. She said Miranda had issues, that she'd gotten involved with someone dangerous, someone who didn't want the baby, that she died in a crash, and when no one stepped up to claim me, mom decided she would. She said the adoption was unofficial at first, but eventually she made it work. I asked if she kidnapped me. She said no, not exactly, but the way she said it felt like a lie. I asked about my father. She went quiet. "He wasn't a good man," she said. "He was part of something. Dark. He wanted to erase you." I asked for a name. She shook her head. "Names have power," she whispered, like I was asking for a curse. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying her words over and over. Something was still missing. I didn't know what yet, but it felt like the ground was only beginning to crack. 2 weeks later, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, no name, just a single line typed on paper. "Your mother didn't die in that crash. She was taken." I dropped the letter and backed away from it like it was poison. I thought I was adopted. Then I thought I was stolen. Now I didn't know what to believe. But I was going to find out. I had to. The letter sat on my desk for 2 days before I touched it again. I kept staring at that single line. "Your mother didn't die in that crash. She was taken." No name, no return address, no signature. I ran my fingers over the paper hoping for answers, but it felt like holding a ghost. Eventually, curiosity outweighed fear. I grabbed the envelope, flipped it inside out, and found nothing. No watermark, no stamp, just a generic USPS barcode. I started wondering who sent it. Someone who knew the truth, someone who knew I was ready to hear it, and someone watching me closely enough to know what I'd just discovered. I didn't tell Mom. I didn't even hint. Something in me said if I let her know about the letter, I'd never see another one. Instead, I pretended things were fine. I went to school, did my homework, even laughed at her jokes during dinner. But behind every smile, I was watching her, studying the way her fingers twitched when she thought I wasn't looking, the way she locked the deadbolt 3 times now instead of just once, the way she jumped every time the phone rang. It wasn't guilt. It was fear. She was scared of someone. And I had a feeling I was about to find out who. I started keeping a notebook. I logged everything. When she left the house, who she talked to, when her calls got hushed. I even checked the phone bill online using her login, something she probably didn't think I could access. Most of the numbers were familiar, but one kept popping up. Always late at night, always under 5 minutes. I looked it up. It traced to a burner phone in a city 2 hours away. I wrote the number down and stared at it for days, unsure what to do. Then I called it. The first time no one picked up. The second time someone answered and said nothing, just breathing. I hung up, heart pounding, palms sweaty. But something about the way they didn't speak made me feel like they were waiting. Like I'd passed a test. The next day, a second letter arrived. Same envelope, same font. This one had an address. If you want to know what really happened to your mother, go to 241 Harker Street. 3rd floor, ask for June, come alone. I Googled it. It was an old apartment building near the city center. Reviews said it was shady, run down, but still active. I debated for days. What if it was a trap? What if it was Mom trying to test me? What if it was someone worse? But that last one stuck in my head. Someone worse. If Mom was afraid, it meant danger. And if someone wanted me to know the truth, maybe I didn't have much time before they were silenced too. I lied to Mom that Saturday and said I was going to a friend's birthday party. I put on my most normal clothes, made sure my phone was charged, and took the earliest bus out. The city felt louder than usual, the kind of loud that made you feel small. Harker Street was gray and cracked and full of graffiti that felt more like warnings than art. I found the building. Old bricks, broken mailbox, a front buzzer that looked half-rusted. I climbed the stairs 3 flights and knocked. No answer. I waited, then knocked again. Finally, the door opened just a crack. A woman in her 60s peered through the chain lock. "You're late," she said. I told her I didn't know I was supposed to be on time. She laughed. Not cruel, but not kind either. Just tired. She unlatched the door and let me in. Her apartment was dark, blinds closed, every surface covered in papers, photographs, and something that looked like police files. "You're Miranda's girl," she said, lighting a cigarette. "You've got her eyes." I sat down, unsure what to say. She introduced herself as June, no last name, and started talking like we'd known each other for years. She said she was a friend of my mother's, the real one. They'd met at a women's shelter when they were both 20. She said Miranda was bright, stubborn, and scared, not of life, of a man, my father. He wasn't just abusive, June said. He was connected, deep in something ugly, people who made others disappear for the right price. Miranda tried to leave him once, and he sent her pictures of her sister's house with a red X over the window. I asked if she meant my mom. She nodded. Your mom, well, aunt, was the only family Miranda had left, and he knew it. June said that when Miranda got pregnant, everything changed. He didn't want the baby. He said it would ruin everything, but she refused to go along with what he wanted. June didn't say the word, but I understood. So she ran, disappeared. She stayed with me for months under a fake name, and then one day she said she was going back. Not to him, but to your mom. Said she missed her, trusted her, needed her help. That was the last time June saw her. I asked if she thought Mom betrayed her. She didn't answer at first. Then she said, I think your mom was scared. Maybe she was coerced. Maybe she thought she could keep you safe by lying. But Miranda never would have left you willingly. She handed me a folder, thick and yellowed with age. Inside were letters. From Miranda to June. Handwritten, ink smudged, some with tear stains. They were full of fear, love, and warnings. In one, Miranda wrote, if anything happens to me, it will be because of him. But if I'm gone, I need someone to find my daughter. I need her to know I loved her. I couldn't hold the tears. June looked at me with something like pity, something like relief. She said she kept quiet for years, but the older she got, the harder it became. No one listened, no one cared. But you're the proof she existed. You deserve the truth. Before I left, she gave me one last thing. A photo of Miranda, pregnant, smiling, standing outside a house I didn't recognize. On the back, it said, 8 months along. Can't wait to meet her. I got on the bus home with the photo clutched in my hand like a lifeline. I didn't know what I was walking into when I got home, but I knew I couldn't pretend anymore. Mom was waiting at the kitchen table when I walked in. The look on her face said everything. She knew where I'd been. She knew what I'd found. And her first words weren't, "Where were you?" or "What did you find?" They were, "You shouldn't have talked to June." The second she said that name, I knew everything was true. All the lies, the forged documents, the fake memories she'd constructed to keep me quiet, it all cracked the moment June left her mouth. I didn't respond. I just stared at her across the kitchen table, the same table where I used to eat cereal watching cartoons, the same table where she taught me how to write my name. Suddenly it felt foreign, like I was sitting across from a stranger in someone else's house. Mom, or my aunt, or whoever she truly was, folded her hands and looked down like she was praying. "I was trying to protect you," she whispered. I asked her from what? Her face tightened. "From him," she said. "From the man who made your mother's life hell." I asked if he was my father. She nodded slowly. He wasn't just dangerous, he was powerful. Charming on the surface, but underneath, he was the kind of man who made people disappear if they got in the way. I told her I didn't want metaphors. I wanted facts. Her jaw clenched like it physically hurt to speak the truth. "Your mother came to me scared out of her mind. She'd been hiding, using aliases, moving cities every few months. He always found her, and when she showed up at my door, she said he was watching again. She didn't want to put you in danger. She said she'd do anything to make sure you grew up safe, even if it meant disappearing." I asked what happened the day of the crash. She paused for so long, I thought she wasn't going to answer. Then she said, "There wasn't a crash." I felt the blood drain from my face. She said Miranda had been planning to flee again, but before she could, she got a call from a blocked number. She left that night and never came back. 2 days later, Mom got a call from a payphone. A man's voice told her to come pick up the girl from a diner an hour away. When she arrived, I was sitting in a booth alone, coloring on a placemat, no one around me, just a note taped to the table that said, "Raise her like your own or she disappears too." I was 3 years old. I remembered none of it. I asked why she never told the police. She laughed bitterly. I did, or at least I tried, but someone scrubbed the report within hours. Even the officer who took the statement told me later to drop it if I valued my safety. She said it wasn't just about him, it was who he worked with. People in law enforcement, city council, maybe even federal. I didn't know who to trust. So she ran, she changed her name, dyed her hair, forged new documents, became someone else. And I swore I'd never tell you. I thought if I could give you a normal life, the past would stay buried. I told her it didn't. I pulled out the letters from June, the picture of Miranda, the birth certificate. I laid them all on the table like evidence at a trial. She stared at them with tears running silently down her face. "I know," she whispered. "I know it wasn't fair to you, but you were my second chance to do something right." I asked if she thought Miranda was still alive. She hesitated. "I used to think maybe, but that man doesn't leave loose ends." I said someone left me the letters. Someone sent me the address. Someone wanted me to know. That means someone's still out there who remembers, who cares, who knows something. She went pale. "You got a letter?" I nodded. 2, actually. She stood up so suddenly her chair scraped the floor. "You need to leave, now." I thought she was panicking, overreacting, but then I saw it, real fear in her eyes. Not fear of being exposed, fear of being hunted. She ran to the living room, pulled a duffel bag from under the couch, and started stuffing clothes into it. "We have to go. Pack your things. I'll explain in the car." I didn't move. I told her I wasn't running, not anymore. She grabbed my shoulders and said, "You don't understand. If you got a letter, it means they know you're looking. It means someone's watching you." I said, "Good. Let them watch. Let them know I'm not afraid." She looked at me like she didn't recognize me. Maybe she didn't. Maybe for the first time, I wasn't the scared little kid she could protect with a bedtime story and a new last name. I asked her one final question. What was his name? My father's name. She swallowed hard, then whispered, "Elliot Grange." I wrote it down the second she said it. She flinched just hearing it. "Don't say it out loud," she said. "He's not a ghost. He's real. And if you find him, he'll make you wish you hadn't." I told her I wasn't looking for him. I was looking for Miranda. I needed to know if she was alive, if she'd ever tried to come back for me, if she'd fought. Mom, or my aunt, or whatever I was supposed to call her now, said, "She fought every day, but some people are stronger than others." She handed me a key, old brass, worn down. "This was hers," she said. "I've kept it all these years. I don't know what it unlocks, but if she wanted you to have it, maybe it's time." I took it. Small, heavy, important. Later that night, when she was asleep, I looked up Elliot Grange. I found nothing. No social media, no articles, no address. But then I searched court cases. And that's when I found a name. Burke Industries. A company connected to dozens of lawsuits, settlements, shell corporations. One of their senior security officers in the early 2000s, Elliot Grange. I clicked on a scanned article from a local paper. His picture was in the corner, small and grainy, but unmistakable. His eyes looked like mine. And in the background of the photo, blurred but visible, was something even worse. Miranda, standing behind him, smiling, wearing a necklace shaped like a key. I stared at the photo on my screen for almost an hour, my heart thudding so loud I could barely hear anything else. It was her. Miranda. No doubt in my mind, same face as in the letters from June, same soft eyes, same necklace, the one shaped like a key. The same key that now sat on my nightstand, cold and heavy, and suddenly terrifying. But the most chilling part wasn't just that she was in the photo. It was that she was smiling, standing next to Elliot Grange, my biological father, the man my aunt had described as dangerous, connected, capable of making people disappear. What kind of woman smiles next to a man like that? I couldn't wrap my head around it. Was she pretending? Had she been forced? Or, worse, was she working with him? The photo was dated 3 months after she supposedly died, meaning the entire car crash story wasn't just a cover-up. It was an outright lie. I barely slept that night. I lay in bed turning the key over and over in my hand, trying to remember if I'd ever seen that necklace in real life as a child. I hadn't. But I remembered a song, something Miranda used to hum when she thought I was asleep. It came to me like a whisper. You are my sunshine. It echoed in my brain like a lullaby and a warning at the same time. The next morning, I showed the photo to my aunt. She turned white, sat down without a word. I asked her if she knew about this, if she knew Miranda was alive back then, if she knew she might still be. She didn't answer right away. She stared at the photo like it was haunted. I thought she was dead, she said finally, barely a whisper. Or I wanted to think that, because the alternative meant something worse. I asked her what that meant. She looked up at me with tears in her eyes. It meant she chose him. It meant after everything she said, she went back. I didn't believe it. I couldn't. Not after everything I'd read in those letters. Miranda loved me. She was running from him. Something didn't add up. I took the key and started making calls. Locksmiths, storage facilities, safety deposit banks, anyone who might recognize it. Most said no. Some hung up. One asked if I had ID. But then one man asked me to text a photo, said he'd seen a key like that before. I sent the picture and waited. 20 minutes later, he called me. You're not in trouble, he said. But if that key's what I think it is, you need to be very careful. I asked what it opened. He said it was from a type of reinforced safety box made in the 90s, discontinued for being too expensive. Only a handful still existed, and most were in private vaults. You got a serial number? He asked. I flipped the key over. There were 3 small etched digits near the base. I read them to him. He went quiet. That one's listed to a facility in Fairmont, private access only, high security, but if you've got the key, they legally have to let you in. I Googled the location. It was 3 hours away. I didn't ask my aunt. I didn't pack a bag. I just grabbed the key, the letters, my ID, and got on a bus heading north. The ride felt like a fever dream. Gray highways, blurred trees, strangers who looked too long. I arrived in Fairmont just before sunset. The vault facility was tucked between 2 corporate buildings, like it wanted to hide. The front desk was clean, modern, clinical. A woman in a navy blazer asked how she could help. I handed her the key. She looked it over and raised an eyebrow. 1 moment, please. She disappeared behind a door and I waited. 15 minutes passed. Then she returned with a man in a suit who introduced himself as Mr. Palmer. We haven't seen that model in over a decade or so, he said. But your access is still valid. Right this way. He led me down a hallway into a steel elevator that descended 3 levels. Everything felt like a movie. Sterile walls, blinking security cameras, soft classical music that only made me more anxious. We reached a room with rows of reinforced boxes. Palmer pulled mine from the back and set it on the table. Take your time, he said, then left. I held my breath and turned the key. The lock clicked and the lid creaked open. Inside were 3 things: a flash drive, a sealed envelope, and a small velvet pouch. I opened the pouch first. It held the necklace, Miranda's key pendant, identical to the one in the photo. I slipped it over my head, feeling its weight against my chest. Next, the envelope. Inside was a letter written in Miranda's handwriting, dated the same week as the photo. If you found this, I don't know whether to be relieved or terrified, but I'm going to assume you're my daughter, my real daughter. I'm sorry for everything you've had to live through to get here. I wanted to protect you. I thought I could outsmart him. I was wrong. I read every word slowly, my fingers trembling. She talked about Elliot, how he charmed her, then controlled her, how he tried to erase her identity, keep her dependent, paranoid, afraid. She said when she tried to leave, he blackmailed her, said he had connections everywhere, said no one would believe her. She described the day she fled, taking me, changing names, hiding, but then she said something I didn't expect. I went back. I froze. She wrote that she thought she could trick him, make him think she loved him again, earn his trust. And while doing that, she said she uncovered everything. He runs more than just shell companies. He launders money for men with blood on their hands. He bribes cops, judges, senators. I've been copying files, storing them. If anything happens to me, they're on the drive. I opened the flash drive next. Hundreds of documents, spreadsheets, call logs, bank transfers, names, dates, payments labeled cleanup and removal. It was more than incriminating. It was a web. I closed the box and clutched it to my chest. Miranda hadn't disappeared. She'd gone back into the lion's den to destroy it. And if that was true, then she was either in hiding or dead. And either way, I knew one thing. Elliot Grange had to be exposed. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in a cheap motel room in Fairmont with the flash drive, Miranda's letter, and the necklace pressed against my chest like armor. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, young, terrified, brave. I saw the files, bank accounts, wire transfers, surveillance reports. I saw my own name on a list labeled Assets to Monitor. It made my stomach twist. I wasn't just a daughter, I'd been a pawn. I knew what I had wasn't just a personal tragedy, it was proof. And if the wrong person realized I had it, I wouldn't get a second chance. The next morning, I called June. She didn't answer. I called again. Voicemail. On the third try, she picked up. Her voice was shaky. "You need to leave Fairmont," she said before I could say a word. "Someone came by the building. Asking about you. Showed a picture." I asked who. She said she didn't know, but he looked like law enforcement, except he wasn't wearing a badge. "He had that look," she said, the one Miranda warned me about. I told her I had the files. She went silent, then she said, "Get to a reporter, someone real, someone national. If you go to the police, they'll bury it." I asked her one last thing before hanging up. Did she believe Miranda could still be alive? If anyone could survive him, she said, it was her. I left Fairmont within the hour. I used cash for everything. I turned off my phone and bought a burner at a gas station. I didn't go home. I couldn't. I didn't know who had followed me, who was watching, who Mom might have told. I rode buses for hours, changing routes, staying ahead of whatever shadow I felt creeping closer. Finally, I made it to a city where I found a reporter, Riley Grant. I'd seen her in a documentary years ago, the kind of journalist who exposed corruption even when it meant putting herself in danger. I emailed her from an encrypted account. Subject line: I have proof of organized corruption involving federal officials and a man named Elliot Grange. I expected silence. I got a reply in 2 hours. We met in the back of a bookstore on a rainy Wednesday. I brought a copy of the flash drive. She brought a voice recorder and 2 cups of coffee. I told her everything, every lie, every letter, every step. She listened without interrupting, her eyes dark and focused. When I showed her the drive, she clicked through it and went pale. "This is more than a story," she said. "This is a war file." She didn't ask how I got it. She just said she'd protect my name. But I told her to use it. All of it. If exposing him meant putting a target on my back, fine. I was done hiding. Riley took the drive and told me to disappear for a while. "Not forever," she said, "just until this goes public." I asked where I should go. She handed me a card. It was for a woman named Lorraine, who ran a safe house for whistleblowers. I called her that night. 2 days later, I was in a cabin in the mountains with no cell service, a fireplace, and a shelf full of dusty books. Lorraine checked in once a day, brought groceries, and let me use her satellite phone if I needed it. For the first time in my life, I felt untouchable. And then, after a week, Riley's article dropped. Not just one article. A full investigation, national headlines, photos, bank records, names. Elliot Grange's name splashed across the screen alongside words like federal conspiracy, money laundering, witness intimidation, and disappearance of Miranda Grange. My mother. My name was kept anonymous, but the world knew now. The story exploded. 3 senators resigned within the week. An FBI spokesperson announced a task force had been formed. Elliot Grange disappeared. No one could find him. His home was abandoned, his accounts drained. But something told me he wasn't gone, just hiding. I stayed in the cabin for a month. Then one morning, Lorraine came in holding a letter. "This came to the Dropbox," she said. I opened it. No return address, same typewriter font as before, just one sentence. "She's alive, she saw the article, she wants to meet." I dropped the letter. My legs went weak. Lorraine caught me before I hit the floor. I asked her to read it again. I wasn't imagining it. Someone out there knew Miranda. Maybe it was her. Maybe it was someone close to her. Either way, the note came with coordinates. Rural Oregon. I didn't tell Riley. I didn't tell June. I only told Lorraine. She offered to drive. We arrived at an old ranch house surrounded by trees. No neighbors, no traffic, no signs. I knocked once, twice. The door creaked open, and there she was. Older, tired, but those same eyes, the same eyes I'd seen in the mirror my whole life. She didn't speak at first. She just stared at me, tears slipping silently down her cheeks. Then finally she whispered, "You look just like her." Like me. I didn't say anything. I just stepped forward and hugged her. And for the first time in 17 years, I felt like I was home. Miranda told me everything. How she faked her death. How she stayed with Elliot just long enough to get what she needed. How she escaped the night he realized she was recording him. How she left me with my aunt, believing I'd be safer. I watched you grow up from afar, she said. Every birthday, every school photo, I have them all. She showed me a box full of newspaper clippings, screenshots, distant photos. I wanted to come back. I almost did, 100 times, but I knew if he even suspected I was alive, he'd come after you. I told her he would now. She nodded. Let him. We stayed up all night, talking, crying, laughing at stories neither of us remembered the same way. In the morning, I called June, then Riley, then Mom, my aunt. Each call was different, hard, emotional, but healing. 2 months later, Elliot Grange was found in an abandoned compound in Mexico, extradited, arrested, denied bail. Miranda testified from behind a screen. I sat in the front row. He didn't look at me once. He was sentenced to life without parole, and for the first time in my life, the danger was gone. Miranda moved into a little house nearby. Not too close. Just close enough. We take walks now. Sometimes I catch her staring at me like she's still making sure I'm real, and every time I say the same thing. I'm here. And I am, whole, safe, finally free from the secrets that built my life. I thought I was adopted, I was wrong, I was hidden, and now I've been found.